www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
All right, folks. I'm curious who's the very first person in, because I don't know which platform you're coming in from on my dashboard. I got stuff on the floor back there, and it's going to bother me if it stays back there this entire time. But I'm already wired in. I already got my microphone on, and my headphones are right here. I just don't know if I'm going to get up and go move that stuff. How's everybody doing? How you doing? Tanya, how are you? It's good to see you, Tanya. Void Pixie, good to see you. Tanya's over on Periscope, Twitter. Xavi is up on YouTube or Facebook. I saw this, Jeremiah. President Trump might have coronavirus. Like, I still am, kind of superstitious, so I'm not quite ready to wish it on him. Not yet. If anybody deserves it, it's him, but I'm not ready to wish it on him. Katrina over on Facebook, good to see you. Tanya, hey, my mama's watching me. My mama's watching me. Hey, ma. Wes is trying to listen to my podcast right now with Anand Girdadas. It's a great podcast. You should check it out. Go to iTunes and subscribe. And while you're there, leave me a review. Help me grow this thing. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because that thing's going to bother me back there. Let me turn this camera. It's still in the shot. I'm going to have to get up and go get that stuff off the floor. Am I OCD? Hey, Kimmy, how are you? Azora, how are you? Somebody gave some love to my mother. Say, hey, Miss Dixon. What's going on, Carrie? We got 643 people. Wow. And I haven't even shared it yet. We have Al Sanita said the Anand interview was amazing. Thank you. It really refreshed. It was refreshing for me. It refreshed my soul to talk to him and speak to him, and to see that both of us were, in similar spaces in terms of life, in terms of, and I'm talking about the podcast that I did and I released today with Anand Girdadas, fabulous author, fabulous writer, contributor to MSNBC in New York Times, and we both found ourselves in a very similar. We both have. He's from Shaker Heights, Ohio. My family roots are deeply rooted in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, which are literally twin cities. My dad went to Case Western Reserve. His dad went to Case Western Reserve, and we're both rearing kids that are about the same age. I think he might be a year younger than me. And not that we just have so many similarities, but we also have similar fights in terms of the same fights that a lot of you have. A lot of you are a lot of supporters are super progressive / leftist, almost socialist. Some of you are even communists, and you find yourself fighting this battle within us right now about this fight that we have between a neoliberal and Joe Biden and a neo-fascist, and how, for me and Anand, we are both really clear. We would much rather deal with a neoliberal in Joe Biden than clearly a neo-fascist. But it's something that you actually have to fight to express in 2020, because there is an intentional effort by some good meaning people. I want to preface what I'm going to say. What I'm getting ready to say, there's two categories, and I don't want anybody to mistake the two because of the respect that I have for those people that I know are well-meaning and they are trying to hold as tightly as they can to their principles, who can't bring themselves to vote for Joe Biden because he does not support enough of their politics. There are some really genuine, good, kind, caring, some of the best people who fall into that category. Please believe me. But there's also other people in that category of people who see a neoliberal in Joe Biden and can't bring themselves to support Joe Biden, even in the face of a neo-fascist like Donald Trump. And it's the second group of people that I have an issue with, not the first group. And I got to reiterate, because a lot of them are my friends. And I know one thing is true. You cannot convince everybody who's listening to me. If you're trying to convince somebody to vote for Joe Biden, you can't convince them by vote shaming them. You can't convince them by attacking them and beating them down. You can't. You have to listen to them. And when you sit and you listen to them, you're going to find out they're one of two people. They are somebody who's just genuinely sincere about their politics, and it is a moral imperative for them to hold the line. I can't knock that. I can't. But there's another group of people that are, I believe, intentionally sent to confuse the conversation, to instigate divisions, to draw false equivalencies because it benefits them to do so. This is what I mean, and I hope that you hear me very clearly. There are people who are out there who are paid chaos agents, and their purpose is to ensure that as many people as possible see Donald Trump as an equivalent to Joe Biden, which is absolutely asinine, ridiculous, and absurd. You cannot, in good faith, now what you can do in good faith is say, I know that this is a problem. I know Donald Trump is horrible, but I can't bring myself to vote for Joe Biden. You know what? I disagree with you, but I feel you. I feel you. But you cannot, and I'm not talking about that group. I'm talking about the people who sit back and act like they can't see the difference between a fascist white supremacist like Donald Trump and Joe Biden, who at a minimum is not going to send federal agents to kill you like they did Michael Reinhold. Does that make sense? So there are people who literally, here's how I know. This is not conspiracy theory. Here's how I know. Donald Trump has actually invested money into sowing that message on the left. There's a brilliant article. I think I discussed it on this program, on this conversation that we have. There was a video and an article by Channel 4 News. And Channel 4 News is like the British equivalent of Channel 7 News, which is like ubiquitous across the United States. Every single state and every single city has its own Channel 7 News. Channel 4 is kind of like that. And they did a research project. They got a hold of data. 5 terabytes of data that the Trump campaign got on 200 million Americans. They had a database so big that it had 5,000 columns on 200 million Americans. I need you to visualize how big that data set is. And in that data set, we just jumped right in tonight. In that data set that Donald Trump had in 2016, you know he still has it and he's using it in 2020. In that data set, they had 5,000 columns of information on every single one of you watching me right now. It was a psychological warfare tool, according to them, according to the Trump campaign. They know what you like, and you're wondering how they got it, right? They got it from Cambridge Analytica, which is a company that data mined from Facebook and got all kinds of information on what you like, what you don't like, what messages work for you, what messages don't work for you. They have a complete psychological workup on 200 million Americans. And what did they do with that? They micro-targeted black voters, 3.5 million black voters. And they didn't micro-target them to encourage them to vote for Donald Trump. What they did was they sent intentional messages to muddy the waters so that people would feel like Hillary Clinton was exactly the same as Donald Trump. And they spent millions of dollars sowing that message. that Hillary Clinton was the same as Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, 205,000 American deaths from COVID-19 alone should be enough to tell you that Hillary Clinton was never the same as Donald Trump. So when I tell you that there is money being poured into the messaging that Joe Biden is the same as Donald Trump, I'm not telling you that as some ridiculous conspiracy theory that, Ben's just trying to find a way to justify supporting Joe Biden. No, I'm telling you that they have a data file from 2016 with 200 million Americans on it, with 5,000 columns of data on every single one of those 200 million people. And what they did was they narrowed it down to 3.5 million black people in swing states. And they poured millions of dollars into doing advertisements that were specifically designed to make you believe that Hillary Clinton was the same as Donald Trump. This was not the Russians. This was not a foreign actor. It wasn't China. It was the Trump campaign. And you cannot tell me that if they did it in 2016, that they're not doing the same thing in 2020. And the thing they're doing in 2020, and people are being paid to repeat this message. And whether or not you're being paid, you are being advertised to right now with this message, trying to make you believe that there's no difference between a fascist and a neoliberal. Now, I apologize for being this worked up. This is supposed to be the chill show. Where's my tea? I don't even have my coffee. I'm going to have to get up anyway to go get my drink, and then maybe that'll settle me down. But folks, we are outfunded and outgunned. And we're outgunned in the sense that they are targeting, not Donald Trump's campaign is targeting the specific weaknesses in our coalition that we need to stop fascism. And the number one weapon that they have is telling you that there's no difference between Joe Biden and the man who told white supremacists 2 nights ago to stand by and stand ready. The troubling thing about it is that so many people believe it. And it's not a sure thing that we're going to win, because that messaging resonates with a certain group of people who have been micro-targeted in swing states, not to encourage them to vote for Donald Trump, but to deter them from voting at all. And you know who they're targeting, number one? Disproportionately so? African Americans, black folks, us. Let's see what y'all talking about. Mary, I agree. Midway Max said that the white button-up and the red wine was a vibe last night. Well, I can't do the same thing 2 nights in a row. Right? I mean, I do got a couple of the button-ups that are pretty pretty suave, but I decided to go with the blue collar. I'm blue collar tonight, literally. All right. Let's see what else y'all are talking about. Oh, here's a good one. You're right. Luna Diana. They are definitely targeting people to vote for him. That's the other side of the data operation. They use data from religious recovery and grieving outreach groups. Yes, that's the flip side. Unfortunately, there are some people who are extremely vulnerable to religious dogma, and they know how to target them as well. But I think it's a more difficult sell to try to convince someone to vote for Donald Trump versus, let me see if I can change without messing this up, versus not voting at all. It is extremely easy to encourage people to not vote at all, especially when the lie has been a pervasive lie in the black community that we have not effectively addressed as a community is the lie that rejecting politics is viewed as intelligence and wokeness and seeing with your third eye and a higher level of consciousness. Like, and I'm sure this is prevalent in every community, so I don't, but I'm not in every other community. I'm in the Black community. And so if you can comment in the comment section if you see this in like the white community, the Latino community, the whatever community. But in the Black community, it's like an extra badge of nobility to say, oh, all the politics doesn't matter. Meanwhile, whether or not you keep your kid who has pre-existing conditions and you're finally able to get them health care because of Obamacare is literally on the verge of being snatched away from you. So tell me again how politics don't matter. But it has become a badge of nobility in the Black community to reject politics. And if you're in the barbershop and you say, oh man, it's all the same, somebody gonna say, yeah, it's all the same. And then be like, yeah, man, Democrats ain't no different than Republicans. Then somebody in the other corner of the barbershop gonna be like, that's right, man, they all the same, they all crooks. Right? So it becomes a badge of nobility and a badge of honor to reject participation in politics in general. And we have not overcome that false consciousness. We haven't overcome that false consciousness. Now, I will be the first to tell you that electoral politics ain't going to fix everything. But we're at a juncture in American history where electoral politics would really decide whether or not we have a country in 4 years or not. So if you think politics don't really affect you, just kind of picture 4 years in the future after Donald Trump has had another 4 years of standing by watching folks die of COVID-19 and another 4 years of standing by with his white supremacist groups and really pushing them to the edge of violence and to this country to the edge of civil war. Right? So while electoral politics absolutely will not fix everything, to bring that false consciousness, logic, ignorance to 2020 when we're literally dealing between a fascist who would just as soon see you get executed in the streets or a standard fair politician who is at least going to respect the institutions of power and not violate the Constitution in order to maintain power. If you can't see the difference there, then that false consciousness has blinded you. Let's read some more comments. Hey man, I appreciate you, Dion. Another 4 years or a very long dictatorship. Weedy says, I miss not knowing a little about politics. Let's see, there's a scripture. I like when people throw scriptures that can be applied to politics. Let me read this one first. Okay, I'm not sure about that one. We'll come back to it. Luna, stay with these fire comments. Electoralism is a dirty word in some spaces. You're radical, you don't believe in participation, or that's the vibe. And this is herein lies the rub. Herein lies the rub. Radicals, not all, and nothing's categorical, but radicals reject electoralism in an earnest expectation of a revolution. A revolution, in the style of Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, an actual revolution to overthrow this government. I'm gonna be honest with you, I emotionally look at what's happening, particularly with COVID-19 and the way these bastards don't care about us at all. I am emotionally attached at times to that idea because it just blows my mind away that they could kill 205,000 Americans and not fear for their power. So I emotionally identify with that. Intellectually and in terms of my humanity, I move back from that edge every time I look at my kids and every time I consider how that plays out. Intellectually, I game that out because I'm emotionally attached to that. Because to me, anybody who presides over 205,000 deaths does not deserve to show their face in public, let alone maintain power. Okay? So I just want you to understand who you're dealing with. You catch me on the wrong day and I'll be out there with them. Okay? But I have a wife who regularly tells me, you know, she helps me stay balanced. I've got kids who I regularly look at and say, I don't want them to have 1 year of peace and then the next year we're trying to escape to another country as a refugee. So I emotionally identify with the idea of a revolution that a lot of radicals reject electoral politics as they wait for that revolution. That said, to me, waiting on the revolution is analogous to waiting on Jesus to come back and fix all of our stuff. What are you going to do in the meantime? What are we going to do if the revolution don't jump off in the next 20 years? We could have fixed some things. And we could have fixed them through not only electoral, presidential, federal level politics, but we could have fixed them if we ran for office and changed it ourselves on the local level. You feel me? Christians wait around for Jesus to come back. And my thing to them, this is why I don't, okay, you can probably tell I used to be a preacher. I'm not a preacher anymore. Two reasons. A couple reasons. One is because I cuss too much. The other one is because I used to ask questions that really made people uncomfortable. Because my question to the Christians was, what if Jesus don't come back for 100 years? What are you going to do in the meantime? Okay, what if Jesus don't come back for 1,000 years? What is humanity going to be doing in the meantime? What if Jesus don't come back for 1 billion years? Like, there are some problems that are coming up that if we are waiting on Jesus to come back and fix them and we aren't doing anything in the meantime, those problems will be here and would have destroyed us because we sat around waiting on the revolution. That's why I draw that analog. Because if the revolution doesn't jump off in 100 years, then we would have missed 100 years of opportunity of changing things through the system that is going to be in power in 100 years. Does that make sense? Ew, Corrine from high school. Faith without works is dead. Radicalism without work is dead. Radicalism without work is dead. Let me open up my file so I do not miss all of the super chats that are coming up and all the people who are subbing. Hey, shout out. I didn't even know we had that many subscribers. We have like 114 subscribers over on Twitch, which is like blows me away. And we've gotten a couple of new subscribers since then. B Cravenheart 69 has subscribed on Twitch. Badger Brother has subscribed on Twitch. Francis the Rogue, thank you for subscribing on Twitch. Texton, thank you for subscribing on Twitch. J376 subscribed with Prime. Again, you can donate your Prime subscription to my channel, which means you don't have to come out of your pocket any other money. What you do is out of that $99 that Jeff Bezos gets every year from you, 5 of that can come to this show. So it doesn't cost you a thing. If you have Prime, everybody who has Prime, go over to Twitch and subscribe to my show with Prime. It doesn't cost you anything. And we at least snatch $5 from Jeff Bezos one at a time. So J376, thank you for becoming a Prime subscriber on Twitch. LJ Super, LJV Super, thank you for subscribing on Twitch with Prime. Let me give another couple of readouts. Smack Talk 94 is gifting a tier 1 sub to my community, and they subbed it to Golden Moose. Thank you. Golden Moose 1011. Thank you so much for receiving the gift. And Smack Talk 94, thank you for giving the gift. Let me scroll over and get these super chats. Hang on. This is over on YouTube. This is from, okay, hang on. I'm messing up here, guys. This is on me. My producer has it all lined up neatly, and I'm losing my. Okay, I've seen a lot of people talk about COVID and the president being in quarantine. I'm terrified of the fact that he could have just passed it over to Joe Biden. We'll talk about that in a second. DeAndre Clark, thank you for the super chat. Trump sold his soul. He's immune to consequences. I'm sorry. It took me a second to read that. Micah Gelfund, thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. He said, they said, thanks for the live stream. Keep up the good work. I first heard you on the Majority Report and have since subbed. Thank you. No name, 2 question marks on, okay, so I'll read this. See, this is why they have no name and they're anonymous. They will spend money to spread this message. They said Trump didn't need to try hard to convince people HRC was no different, like she had a 40-year record and tapes of calling people super predators. Hey, cool. I covered that myself. But guess what? The president of the United States 2 nights ago just told a racist, white supremacist, white militia to stand by for election day. They are coming to our precincts in the black community to intimidate voters. So if your brain is still calculating that, oh, yeah, Donald Trump is the same as Hillary Clinton, if you're still processing that, then we need to check your processing power. Better yet, forgive that. That has a tinge of ableism. Forgive me for that. Let me reject that. I'm gonna take that back and reject that because that was kind of ableist. I'm not gonna question your processing power. I'm gonna question your integrity. I'm going to question your motivation. Because you know what? It is a problem that somebody says something 40 years ago. But you know what's more of a problem? You know what's more of a threat? What's more of a threat is not what Hillary Clinton said 40 years ago. It's what Donald Trump said 48 hours ago. And if you cannot process that threat, I don't question your processing power. I question your integrity and your motivation. And we got to start calling that out. In every community. I don't care if you're black, white, other, you got to call it out because it is the incorrect threat assessment and people are doing that on purpose. They want you to equate something racist that Hillary Clinton said 40 years ago, something racist that Joe Biden did 30 years ago, to the clear and present danger of what Donald Trump is doing at this exact second. It is irrational to the point of deceitfulness. But thank you for the $5. I'm going to spend that on spreading the message. Appreciate that, Anonymous. Meticula is a dirty word in Burundi, is the name on YouTube. And he got me to say it. And I didn't know that it was a dirty word in Burundi. But thank you for the super chat. This is what he said. They said, I would donate to anyone who wants a Patreon subscription and can't manage it right now. So you guys check out the person who is a dirty word in Burundi. Mary Beth O'Neill, ChooseDemocracy.us is doing a training about how to beat back an election coup. Today's training had 1,000 in it. Good strategies. Excellent. ChooseDemocracy.us. I'll put that on the screen later. ChooseDemocracy.us. I love it. Thank you, Mary Beth. Benny Loco, thank you for the super chat. He says, you are the man in my house, Ben. Thank you for sharing time in my house. I appreciate you. Holy. Oh, well, see, I don't even know the a sec. I just saw, it just said $200. I just saw 200, so I thought it was $200. I don't know what that conversion rate is. It could be 2,000 or it could be 20 cents. I don't know. Whatever it is, thank you for it. Keep up the pressure. The hammer always breaks before the stead. Sorry. Gio Francois said, great show. Read more theory, bro. We're not waiting for the revolution to believe in organizing instead of participation in bourgeois democracy. I feel that. And I'll just leave it there. I feel you. Nico said, these late night vids are helping my sanity. I'm glad I could be of service. Fadi, he just sent thank you, man. No comment, but he just sent it. And Infinite Content says, I'm taking off on election day and I'm trying to work the polls for the first time in Philly suburbs. Get involved. Get involved and protect yourself. Make sure that you are wearing some protection in terms of COVID-19 and maybe in terms of the Second Amendment. BB Tanya, on Twitch, said, these people who think capitalism is okay are going to wake up to a bad day. Okay. I don't disagree with you. All right, let's keep rocking. And again, I want to pause and actively reject and apologize for my own ableism. It is definitely something that I'm still working on. And I am grateful I have friends who call me out on it on a regular basis. And I hope I caught myself on it before you guys have to jump in my DMs and tell me. So I'm pulling it back. I'll pull it back. All right, let's go. Let's talk about Trump and COVID-19. Hope Hicks, who oddly enough left the White House, but then came back to the White House. Tested positive for COVID-19, and she has been recently traveling with the president. So now, if I'm following what people are updating me with, and I guess I could jump on Twitter to get the most recent updates, President Trump and his wife are quarantining. And I mean, so the question is like, what if he gets sick and dies? Again, I'm not quite at the point where I could wish that on anybody, even the devil, Donald Trump himself. Because I'm still trying to make it out of this thing alive. And I just feel like I don't want to jinx myself or anybody in my family. So I technically, in theory, wish him the best, in theory. But Mike Pence will step up and be the nominee. And if Joe Biden caught it from being with President Trump, being around President Trump a few days ago, because the thing was they were inside and Donald Trump was yelling the whole time. So Donald Trump's spit, it was just flying all over the place. I mean, everybody in that room is going to have to get tested. Now, if you want a revolution. Anyway. The evilest people seem to live forever, though, man. So it's a good possibility. But I just don't, I'll say it like this. I'm terrified of wishing it on people because I don't want to jinx myself. But I just don't know if the universe would be quite moral and just if Trump was directly responsible for 150,000 people dying of COVID-19, and he didn't even so much as get a cough. So I'm going to let the universe handle that one. Dylan said his last $5 just got dissed. I'm not sure I followed. Did I say something? Send me a note. Nestor Gonzalez is wildin'. Hey, let me put you on the screen, Nestor. Nestor said, God, if you take them both out, I will be a Christian again. Oh, yeah, thank you. You had it. Oh, yeah. My wife got on her. Excuse me, y'all. That's actually worse, isn't it? I just made it worse. but I got my drink. That's wild, Nestor. That's wild. Could someone be, yeah, I mean, think about this. Think about the rallies. Think about all the people who came up to shake Donald Trump's hand at these rallies. 2020 has been wild enough that the whole country could be appended with a lot. And having Donald Trump's ignorance be the source of taking out any number of people he's been interacting with, Mitch McConnell, Amy Coney Bryant, the nominee, any number of senators. Yeah, I might not have to wait on a revolution. It might just, Donald Trump, COVID-19 might be the most revolutionary virus we've ever seen. Oh, I skipped it. Well, I'm definitely going to find it. My producer is probably putting it in the chat room now. And we have a chat on the back end. Benny Loco sent a super chat saying that we're all works in progress. Thank you. I appreciate it. I felt it as I was doing it. I felt that I'm like, this is ableist, Ben. Got to do better. So I am going to do better. And I think I've done better by actually identifying it in the moment. It was just too late for me to catch it. I usually catch my own bigotry before it slides out, but that one kind of got out. So, but thank you for understanding. Susan Bradley Scoff sent, I'm not sure what the currency of DKK is. I guess I could Google it, but thank you for sending that. Fadi sent another one. Thank you. He said, it's funny how you said you have to jump on Twitter to get most recent news updates. We're living in a weird world. Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I mean, because I follow Fox News, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, and I get their notifications. So I get it. As soon as they publish it, I get it. So yeah. The same anonymous person sent another $5 and said, and I'm gonna be fair, I'm gonna read this. It said they voted for HRC. They're not the same, but they weren't distinct enough for people to make that distinction. That was my point. But be an a-hole, dude. Well, I am an asshole for sure. I've always been an asshole, and my wife will confirm that. But your name is anonymous, which, come on. Come on. Put your name out there. At least put a handle out there. You have 2 question marks. And still, can we all look at each other right now and soberly and consciously say that we can't tell the difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump? And thirdly, I don't know how to be anything else but a very kind, loving, and considerate asshole. David, do me a favor and track down Dylan Thompson's super chat. You might have to scroll back some, and I apologize. They're coming in. Messages are coming in a lot faster, so we're definitely not trying to diss you. Solidarity with the assholes in the audience. Guy Shaw, this is exactly why my wife, and she doesn't even say asshole, she'll just say a-hole. It's not hard to be an asshole when you're too honest. And that is the one thing that I've had to learn. I've had to learn that sometimes it is just kinder not to tell the whole story or to tell the whole truth, because sometimes the whole truth doesn't fix everything. And for the longest, I rejected that notion. But marriage has taught me to process the truth. Process it. Process it. And then sometimes just know when to shut up. I have learned to know when to shut up. I am Siler. This is interesting. Bernie Bros voting for the 94 crime bill. Bunch of racist. I think you meant plural. Racist with an S. But that doesn't compute. Again, the threat assessment. What's more dangerous to your life right now if you're a black person? Joe Biden's 94 crime bill, or literally having armed white militias traveling around the country at this present moment, maybe it's not a threat to you if you're not voting. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you're not concerned about Proud Boys because you're not going to be at the polls when the Proud Boys are there with their AR-15. And the fact that the president of the United States is actively recruiting 50,000 citizens to show up to the polls to be poll watchers. And that a lot of them are coming with their weapons. And they're doing it in the name of white supremacy because the president of the United States can't even bring himself to condemn it. So much so that Fox News has been slamming him all day. Fox News, the greatest propaganda machine in the history of propaganda machines, on behalf of right-wing conservative and even white supremacy, they're like, wait a minute. Our white supremacy is supposed to be a dog whistle, you dummy. Fox News is so mad at Donald Trump because he's taken their white supremacy from being a dog whistle to being, stand by. Proud Boys, be on standby. Come on, man. You guys are wild. Who said, arm yourselves, black people, because I want to put that on the screen. The Second Amendment was not made for us, but you damn well better believe we need to stand by it. Oh, yeah. Man from Down Under says, Ben, are you concerned from the poll watcher comment? Do you see violence happening? It's the comment, yes. But the fact that they have been actively organizing 50,000 people to actually do it. When he mentioned it Tuesday night, it wasn't the first time. They have been sending emails out, running advertisements on Facebook. They're actively recruiting and they're getting people, 50,000 people, to be poll watchers on Election Day. In fact, the Proud Boys have already started with their poll watching. In poll watching, you should understand, poll watching with racists and white supremacists with AR-15s, that is voter intimidation. Now, you put together a bunch of racist, middle-aged, midlife crisis white dudes with AR-15s who never were important in anything else in their life, probably were rejected by many women and probably couldn't, they're probably incels. And you put that pent up aggression and anger and hatred towards women, mix it with a frothy mix of, shout out to anybody who knows what I'm referring to when I say a frothy mix of white supremacy, and you send them out with an AR-15, and you send them to black communities where they're going to run up against older black women who don't give a damn what kind of gun you got. It is an inevitable confrontation that the president of the United States is inciting, and not only inciting, actively organizing. Yeah, I am extremely concerned that there's going to be violence on and after Election Day. Yeah, I'm really concerned. But here's the last part about it. Thank you, Michelle. Vote. We can't lay down our rhetorical or literal arms. We can't bend the knee to their suppression tactics. We can't allow them to intimidate us. And we can't do it even in the name of peace. This is the collision that we're on. The collision that we're on is a collision where we have a resolve in ourselves now that is rooted in the fact that we are right, that we're on the right side of history, that we're on the right side of justice. I don't care how much they think they're right. I don't care how much somebody is streaming right now to their side telling them we're right. You know, I'm sure there's a conservative out there doing right what I'm doing right now, talking to their audience saying, you are right. I don't care what objective observer will look at it and say, well, this black guy is over here telling his progressive audience that they're right, and this white guy is over here telling his conservative audience that they're right. And an objective observer would be like, I can't tell the difference. Maybe. But when you cut to the core of the issues and you actually take the time to engage in good faith and you lay out on the table what we stand for and what they stand against, truth is on our side. Justice is on our side. We are not wrong. We are right. And the price of standing down in the name of peace, the price of us giving in to their intimidation, the price of us giving in to their suppression so that we could just avoid the violence that they are willing to use. In other words, for us to back down is just too pricey. It's too costly. It is surrendering our freedom to people who are not going to be satisfied until they have complete domination over us. Dominance was right. The complete dominance over us. And because we understand with crystal clarity how important it is for us to stand. And because I know, even if she never hears or doesn't even know who I am, I know that there is a black woman in her 60s who never had to hear me talk, who has that same resolve that I just described. She knows she's fighting for the right thing. She's been fighting for the right thing her whole life. She knows what she's trying to get in this country is justice, truth, and is morally right, objectively right. She has never even heard of me and did not need me to tell her this. She is going to show up at those polls. COVID-19 be damned. She's not worried about COVID-19 any more than she's worried about Proud Boys and their AR-15s. And she is going to stare them down with the intensity that is going to make their manhood shrivel up. And in that moment, I don't know how that plays out. Because the intensity of that 60-year-old black woman who's going to be at her precinct to vote AR-15 or COVID-19 be damned. Her intensity is a direct threat to their entire perception of their self-worth and their manhood. That same childish, incel, insignificant, I'm throwing salt on it for you. She doesn't even know me. And that person, that Proud Boy, they don't know me. I'm painting a picture for you. That same little insignificant incel of a man who is unimportant in his own life and is disregarded by the women in his life. That same mentality showed up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in the form of Kyle Rittenhouse with an AR-15. And what did he do? He killed 2 protesters and shot the arm off a third. I don't have the ability to stop the confrontations that are coming. I just have enough foresight, and I know enough about life, and I know enough about aggrieved manhood. I know enough about men who have a disdain for women, and I know enough about the spine of steel of women in general, but black women specific, that if these dudes show up at a black precinct and run up on one of these black women, don't get me wrong, black men will be there. It'll happen with some black men for sure. I know, obviously, it's going to happen with some. But when it happens with a black woman and her, I need to use a phrase that is kind of, because I haven't really created a phrase to replace it. So what I'm getting ready to say is kind of rooted in misogyny, and it's only because I haven't thought of a better way of saying it. When that woman's testicular fortitude exposes the fact that that man, that Proud Boy with an AR-15, is nothing but a little boy with a shriveled up ego. How do y'all think that's going? And with Donald Trump encouraging 50,000 of his supporters to be poll watchers, and with Roger Stone out here organizing Proud Boys to be at all of these progressive precincts, translation black precincts, so black folks, arm yourselves, protect yourselves. Allies, arm yourselves, protect yourselves. Because it's like, what choice do we have? I think everyone listening to me would rather we have a peaceful voting experience without any eventfulness, without any excitement, other than taking a picture of I voted in COVID-19. That's excitement enough, right? Don't ever take what I'm saying to be an incitement of violence. My people, I would much rather us go back to a much calmer and a much simpler time. But I would be lying to you, and it would be malpractice for me to not help paint that picture. And for you to go vote early so that you can avoid that. There you go. Go vote early so that you can avoid that. Go vote early. Get it out of the way so that you don't have to run into that confrontation on election day. I don't know that sister, that black woman that I just described. She isn't watching my show right now. Maybe she is. The best thing that I could tell you to do to protect yourself on election day is to vote early. And that's how we can avoid the confrontation, because they are going to be there with their guns to intimidate you and to try to steal this election for Donald Trump. I'm reading your comments. I should have some moderators on YouTube. So if there's any problems, just block them. We don't have time. We got plenty of viewers. Block them. You should have your own ability to block people on YouTube. And David, just watch those comments and block whoever needs to be blocked. Let me go and start recognizing some more people, because y'all are still talking some good stuff over here. Let me go to, how can I do this? Can I shrink this? We got new subscribers on Twitch. Donkey DC, subscribe with Prime. Hey. Lynn Neal, subscribe with Prime. Thank you. So folks, again, if you don't know what subscribing with Prime is, it basically is if you have Amazon Prime, which probably every American has, you don't have to spend an extra dime with me at all. All you have to do is go and tell Twitch that you want to use your Prime membership, and it donates $5 to me. So it's a good way to support the show without having to spend any extra money. Redeemed said, no, I'm sorry. Nope, I'm reading that wrong. HT Wells said on Twitch, Trump spit will challenge hydrochloric acid without COVID. Bad Rongo said on Twitch, what are the chances Donnie tries to inject bleach? I hope he does that since he actually had other people doing it. BB Tanya said, people don't realize who they're dealing with. And I think she's probably, they're probably referring to what I was describing in terms of black women. Can I just say this? Can I tell you something about black women? And again, I've got to find a way to describe this that's not rooted in patriarchy / misogyny. And I haven't done my due diligence. So again, when this comes off, it's going to come off not as precise as I would like for it to be. There is a better way to say it, but I haven't figured it out. But it's worthwhile saying. That's the only reason I would say these things, because it's worthwhile saying. The greatest example of a man that I have ever met in my life was a black woman at a black church down in South Florida. I would say her name, but I don't know if she would want me to. I would say her first name. Her first name is Mildred. And I would never forget sitting in a meeting full of a whole bunch of people, including a whole bunch of men. And the only person who had the backbone and the spine to stand up and say the obvious truth. We're in a room full of people. And everybody's avoiding the obvious truth. And you know who had the backbone enough to stand up and say it? It was a black woman. And in that moment, I made note in my notebook that the greatest example of a man that I have ever